All right, section 2.6, distributive property. And we have all these properties in mathematics, associative property, commutative property. And this distributive property is a pretty important one, and we're going to see it throughout the year. So pay extra special attention tonight as you are watching your lecture. Okay, distributive property, to find the product of A and the quantity B plus C. Okay, how do we do that? All right, well, product, remember, implies multiplication. So we're trying to multiply the A to that quantity B plus C, and what we do is we basically distribute that A. So we are going to multiply A times B first, and that's where we're getting the AB right here. And then you're going to multiply the A times the C, and A times C is AC. Okay, so what we basically are doing is expanding this original expression. Okay, and when we simplify things, we try not to leave parentheses around if we can. So this is actually considered the simplified version of this, if that makes any sense. All right, let's take a look at a few examples. You'll probably remember this from middle school. Okay, this is a very oversimplified one. Here we have 3 times the quantity x plus 1. So when we distribute, we are distributing the 3, and we're going to give that 3 to the x, and we're going to give that 3 to the positive 1. Okay, pay attention to signs here. This is a positive 3 times a positive x, and that produces a positive 3x. This is a positive 3 times a positive 1. Positive 3 times positive 1 gives you a positive 3. That's how we end up with the 3x plus 3 there. This one's a little bit more complex, and you really need to pay attention to signs here. Here we have d times the quantity 2 minus d. Okay, so remember, you want to kind of say this aloud in your head when you're distributing. That's a positive d times a positive 2, and that's where we get d2. But syntax-wise, we don't really say d2. We always put the number in front of the variable. We call that the coefficient. So that's where we're getting the 2d from. Then we have a positive d times a negative d. And a positive, all right, times a negative is what produces this negative sign over here. Because you're going to be responsible for figuring out what sign is supposed to be in your answer. So it's a positive times a negative produces a negative, and d times d is d squared. So that's why we come up with a negative d squared. Okay, very good. Certainly you'll get a lot of practice here toward the end. Just want to point out a few more things before I let you try these on your own. All right, you have to watch out for the sign, and the sign also gets distributed. So take a look at these two examples. We'll go through the first one first. It's a negative 3 times quantity x plus 4. So it's not just the 3 that's being distributed, but also this negative sign that tags along with the 3. So instead of multiplying 3 times x, we're multiplying negative 3 times x to give us negative 3x. We're also multiplying negative 3 times positive 4, and that's what produces the negative 12. And I think that, that's pretty easy. You just need some practice with it. If you look at the second example, we have something a little bit more complex here. Okay. First question I would ask you is, what exactly is being distributed here? Is it the 8? Okay, well, the answer to that is no. That 8 is too far away from those parentheses. It's actually separated from the parentheses by that minus sign. So the 8 has nothing to do with the distribution here. Just going to kind of bring him down. 8's going to stay in 8. So what is being distributed? Well, maybe that negative sign. But what number is that if you just see that negative sign there? Well, maybe you had a teacher in middle school kind of teach you this trick, but if you ever see just a negative sign in front of something, it's really kind of like a negative 1 that's multiplying the thing. So you can treat it like a negative 1. So you're going to distribute that negative 1. So this is a negative 1 times x, and negative 1 times x is going to produce negative 1x, which you can just write like that, Or if you like to put the coefficient in there, that's fine with me. Okay, it's not going to hurt. You also distribute the negative 1 to the positive 6. So negative 1 times positive 6 is negative 6. And that's kind of where they're getting that answer from over there. All right, are we done? Well, we've got three terms here. We've got an 8, a negative x, and a negative 6. And before you can say you're done, you have to see if you can further simplify any of this. So are there any like terms that you could combine? Okay, we can combine like terms here. What do you think the like terms are? Okay, well, we've got that x in the middle, we've got the 8, we've got that negative 6, or that negative x I should have said in the middle. The 8 and the negative 6 are like terms. They go together, a positive 8 and a negative 6. And when we combine like terms, we're basically adding. So positive 8 plus negative 6, it's a war problem. Positives win, and they win by 2. And that's where we're getting a positive 2 from. So you have a negative x, and you have a positive 2. You can write it this way, negative x plus 2. Or if you want to put the 2 in front, that's what they've done over here. So positive 2 in front and negative x in the back. These two expressions are equivalent. Okay. Now you can't just go reversing like this. Okay, that's not the same. X minus 2, this is a positive x and a negative 2, and those do not match up with the signs we see in the other two expressions. So this would not be a correct answer. All right, so on some of these they're a little bit more involved, and you'll have to do some extra work to simplify and maybe perhaps combine when you are done.